Hello folks, it's David here, and I would just like to take a moment to ask you to go and check out our sponsors NordVPN. Internet security, very important. I'm sure it's something that you're concerned about as well. Me, I like to know that I'm the person in control of my data. I live on my phone, and the amount of stuff I do on it, from banking to documents to private messaging, I need to know is secure. We all know that there are bad people out there who will come in and try and get our details and try and spend our money for us. NordVPN prevents that, especially if you're using public Wi-Fi's or you're using Wi-Fi's away from your home. If you use NordVPN, you are safe and protected. It also allows you to take short holidays to places if that's ever required. It's a brilliant product. I use it every day and highly recommend it. And you can get a tremendous offer if you go to nordvpn.com/heart and hand. That's nordvpn.com/heart and hand, or use the code heart and hand to get up to 70% off your NordVPN plan. You'll also get one additional month for free. Risk-free with Nord. It's 30-day money back guarantee. So all you need to do if you don't like it is just say nope, and you'll get your money back. So go and check them out. As I say, it's very important. You'll get peace of mind. Go to nordvpn.com/heart and hand. Hello everyone, and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar. I'm your host as always, and joining me this week are two of our stalwart contributors, fresh, if that's the word, from trips to Germany and to Parkhead over the last couple of days. First of all, it's the wonderful Martin Ramsey.
How are we doing, David? Good to be on for first time in a wee while.
And the tremendous Mr. Adam Thornton.
Hi guys.
So, as I mentioned, lads, you've both been doing the road and the miles lately. Did the kids remember who you are, Adam?
One of them's too young for that anyway, so I'm saying it doesn't count. But the other one seems quite happy when I'm here. Yep.
That's the main thing, isn't it? It's about quality, not quantity, anyway. I think it's been the case for most of this season. But yes, we're racking up the miles. But more importantly, the big games keep coming. And Martin, this is a very weird feeling because here we are. We're on to talk about an Old Firm match, the fourth Old Firm league match of the season. Usually, that would be our be all and end all, and it really isn't. It didn't feel like it yesterday, and it certainly doesn't feel like it today. It's a slightly strange emotion.
Strange emotion, strange weekend, but a strange season. I mean, it's going to take a while to make sense of this whole campaign. Anyone writing a book on it, I would advise waiting 25 years. That seems to be a safe distance for these kind of things. But it really has been weird, and you're never getting a sense of pattern to anything. And you're absolutely right. We are recording now with the prospect of Celtic winning a title imminent. And that prospect is frustrating and it's annoying, and we've all showed various stages of anger over the last few months. But that prospect isn't terrifying. There's only one time in my life when Celtic winning something, the prospect of Celtic winning something, was genuinely worrying. It gave you genuine anxiety, and that was 19 years ago. And that's where we are now. Because for all the disappointment and frustration and letting leads go and letting control go and letting our title go, they could pick that up on a Saturday and no one will remember by the Wednesday night. No one, including them. That's how big this opportunity is if Rangers manage to win 2 games, because it would be the greatest feat in modern Scottish football history, some might argue, because of the circumstances and the changing nature of European football, the greatest achievement in the history of Scottish football. It's that big. And it's, that's where we are now. We're on the precipice of it, and it's exciting, but you're absolutely right. It was so weird to be involved in that on Sunday, and Adam will talk about it as well. You get wrapped up in it for sure for those 2 hours,
yes,
like any other Old Firm game, but all of a sudden Thursday hits you whenever you get home, and the next 3 or 4 days are going to be absolute murder.
Well, Adam, I was just wanting a wee kind of intro there about how, we've got this enormous game on Thursday, and he's made it worse. Because now it's like, oh, yeah, we played yesterday. Anyway, now I'm just desperate to get back to talking about Thursday night. But we will have to talk about yesterday. Not the worst performance you'll see from Rangers at Parkhead, not the worst performance you'll see from Rangers at Parkhead this calendar year, as we've already been there and had a really atrocious performance. But I think considering the circumstances of the way that we were lining up, the fact we were coming off a game 48 hours before a huge match, and the fact that we do clearly have a big one coming up on Thursday, I'm not sure any of us really knew quite what to expect, and I would sort of put it that I thought we started really quite brightly. I thought we were in control. We did what we do and have done all season, which is we then ship a very avoidable, very preventable goal. Then we are kind of a little bit at sixes and sevens defensively. Celtic could have added to it before half time. But then once the manager gets them in, gets a reset, Rangers were totally dominant in the second half. And again, the only thing that prevented us winning was another bugbear of this season, which is not taking key chances at key moments.
Yeah, quite similar to the last two. I think the Ibrox game and the semi-final, in the sense that they have been maybe more evenly matched than we were used to last year. And then obviously that game in February. So maybe just getting back to that even keel that we've seen 15 years ago or so, in terms of we'll win one game, you'll win the next, we'll win one title, you'll win one or two. I thought it was very much like that. In this one, I think I would say it was maybe similar to the semi-final, in the sense that Celtic had a period in the game of about 15-20 minutes and they scored. But other than that, I thought we were the aggressor far and away. They scored with their only shot on target. They only had a couple more. A couple that are offside, which people seem to forget in the cold light of day and think, oh, they did this and they did that. They had two chances that were flagged offside that don't count, so they didn't really do much outside of that goal. That being said, we could have been 2-0 down at half time, and myself and Martin spoke at half time about the importance of that, and I think I've mentioned that on here before. In terms of that February game, for all we got to do in the first half, it was 4 minutes to half time before they got their second goal. Knowing what we know about this Celtic team now, they didn't sit back in the second half in February because they thought the game was won. They sat back because they were knackered, as we've seen in every game since. So that's a wee bit of a sliding doors moment in a season of about 25 sliding doors moment, if we're being honest. And it could have been another one on Sunday there, but we got to half time. And I think we all know we get there, we reset, and we'll come back out. And I thought for the vast majority of the second half, we were fantastic. We had 2-3 clear-cut chances to score, two of them in the same move. We probably did deserve it, I think, on the balance of play, but I think a draw isn't the worst result either, given what we said there about the kind of poor defensive lapse and the chance that Celtic had just before half time. So overall, not too bad, but Martin's right. For me, as soon as that final whistle went, that was it. Waiting to get out, being pelted with bottles, waiting to get out of the stadium, and all attention turned to Thursday, and it wasn't the worst I felt at all after a game. I have to say, just that focus now on the big one.
Yeah, we will come to that, and I want to get both your sort of live witness accounts of that one. But just sticking on the game itself, Martin, I think one of the real finds of 2022, and I don't use 2022 as a sort of rough guide, I mean it very specifically, is John Lundstrom, because we know, of course, he began to show a bit of form just before Steven Gerrard left, and he was doing okay, I think, at the start of the year. It wasn't. He started very poorly, but that really bad period ended, I think, within a couple of months, and then he was fine. I don't think he was doing enough to change people's perception of that start in that period. But this year, he's just got better and better and better. And it struck me a little bit watching him yesterday, just utterly commanding performance. By far, head and shoulders the best player on the park for either side. and completely dominated that midfield area, is that I watched this guy play on Thursday night in a European semi-final against a very good side, full of very good attackers, play at centre-back and almost lead that defence as well. And it's it's such an amazing thing to be able to do, to step back, go, oh, he can play centre back and he'll be absolutely fine, or we can put him in midfield and he'll be absolutely fine, and he'll dominate in both positions. And in terms of what we're seeing from him on a consistent weekly basis now, it's very exciting moving forward, because he seems not only to have completely found his form, which is one thing, but more importantly, I think he is playing with a sort of level of comfort and composure that seems to suggest that he knows exactly what he's doing, exactly what he's there to do, and as I say, it bodes very, very well for the future.
Yeah, it does. I thought I was far too old for Rangers heroes, but now I want to get the Rangers news, pull out his poster, put it over my daughter, and kind of
John
keep
Lund-
it.
the John Lundstrom bedspread.
Yeah, that's something like that. I think Adam and I maybe talked about this on Extra last week or the week before, whenever it was we were on, that we were not getting a John Lundstrom in form. He did not have a good season in the Premier League last year. He had an excellent season the season before, that season that Sheffield United surprised everybody. So you're not taking someone completely full of themselves and really in good nick. Also a lesson that football isn't just, well, you're a good player, you're a good player, you're a good player, your name's on the team sheet, where you go. It's about chemistry and playing in the right positions with the right people, complementing each other. And, it did not work with Davis at the start of the season at all. He did have that wee spell in the autumn that you mentioned, David, and then for whatever reason, the managerial change didn't really suit. I think Gio brought him on, Adam, as a shoring up extra centre half. He certainly did at Easter Road that night. I'm sure he did another time in that initial month. But at Pittodrie, for example, when he went very early to shore up that 1-0 lead, and too early as it turned out, I'm sure it was Sands that was chosen ahead of Lundstrom.
He started Sands that night ahead of Lundstrom.
Okay.
Just in the door.
So he just wasn't ticking boxes for Gio, wasn't used at Parkhead that fateful night in February. Immediately in the team, I think him and Jack started on the Sunday against Hearts, and it was all right. Well, this is different. I don't think we'd really seen that combination for various reasons. Jack's injury being the major one. I said, well, that's a bit different. None of us expected it, but it was excellent that night in Germany against Dortmund. The greatest Rangers away performance in Europe I've ever seen. The two of them are outstanding. And it's just combinations. And he is growing from that, and he is now a leader. He was excellent in that back three on Thursday night, but we maybe missed him in the middle of midfield, kind of conducting the show. We didn't really get a control of the game as hopefully we will get on Thursday. So, but he's just grown into the kind of player I think we've all felt that Rangers needed for some time. The kind of dominant midfield presence, both on the ball, both without the ball. Famous interaction with Calvin Bassey after that tackle at Hampden a couple of weeks ago. We've missed that. And I know we probably romanticise that quite a lot in Scotland anyway. We like to see passion and aggression and things, but he can use a football as well.
Yeah.
And he is just the kind of signing that I think we've probably been crying out for since Gerrard arrived, and maybe really didn't get a kind of signing that it's eventually taken that shape, but it's like, well, he's in the team, good. And other players feel that as well. And he's just another leader from a team that, let's be honest, has maybe lacked a lot. Tav and Goldson have had to do a lot of that work themselves, a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. And I think it just shares that load from him, because he's just a presence looking forward. If we can't even next season, Celtic don't have anyone. As much as McGregor's a good player, I don't think he's that kind of dominating force as Lundstrom. And if we had that player in July, and used properly in July, we could be looking at a whole different season.
You mentioned Calvin Bassey there, and I think we've said on here numerous times one of the best things about Calvin Bassey, he's a quick learner, and he demonstrated that again yesterday was when he fouled a Celtic player and immediately told him to get fucking up rather than inquired as to how he was. Probably felt John Lundstrom's eyes in the back of his head right enough, but yeah, just a little thing that made me laugh, and I did notice that yesterday. And again, in terms of players who've improved a great deal, Adam, another excellent display from Bassey. I've always liked him, and I think you'd need to be blind not to see the improvement he's made in his time at Rangers. But I was always of the opinion that, well, he's a very, very good left back, and he can play centre back, and he did a good job, and we've needed him in there. But his weaknesses in there get exposed. But they are going to the point now where I look at him and I think the heading's still a bit of an issue for a top class centre half. He's not the best in the air. But the other things that he has in his locker there, he's very good at one-to-one defending. He knows when to go in tight and when to drop off, which is huge. I mean, that's something that, for instance, Katic never learned. He is excellent on the ball. And of course, he has that, and it is a huge thing for any club at any level. He's got recovery pace, which is such a massive thing for a centre back to have, because he can trust himself. If someone gets the run on him, he'll get back. And then, of course, when it comes to body strength, forget it, one winner. And again, a tough environment yesterday, and another superb performance.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. He maybe lacks that anticipation and awareness yet, but given how young he is, and given that centre half is not his natural position, he has literally only been playing there top level for 6 months or so. I think we can forgive him for that. He does have that tendency. I guess there's a debate, isn't it? In the semi-final, he stuck to Rogic and he dived in quite a bit. Maybe smarter teams will be able to work around that, but there's been a few times where he has been worked around, and that recovery pace that you've mentioned, or just sheer physicality and will, has got him back and just taking the ball off people as if they're not there. His growth has been remarkable. I have to say, from what we've seen, I always remember Standard Liège away, where it was obviously so wet, but he looked like he was playing in the wrong studs, or barely didn't even have boots on. He was just all over the place, slipping and sliding about, using his physicality well, but it was so erratic to where he is now. And on top of everything that you mentioned, he's a really, really good crosser at the ball as well. That's improved.
It really is. That's
improved so much.
Yeah.
You think about the attributes you're describing there as kind of traditional centre half attributes, but when he gets going on that left hand side, we miss that actually. And this is the same debate that Martin mentioned about Lundstrom. If we could clone the both of them, you could have a Lundstrom at centre half and a Lundstrom at centre mid, and a Bassey at centre back and a Bassey at left back, and you would be absolutely delighted with it, because there are points in each games where yesterday I thought, oh, maybe we should drop Lundstrom back a bit, and then Martin was like, well, we need him in midfield. And I was like, oh yes, so we do. So it's a bit of a, I guess that's a recruitment flaw, if you want to be quite harsh about it, that we haven't properly bought for those eventualities. But if we could clone the both of them, I think we'd be in a better place. For me, their flexibility tactically is absolutely emblematic of Van Bronckhorst just now. The fact that both of them can switch between 3 different formations at will is just so crucial for us.
I think we're at the stage with Bassey, David, Adam, where we're way past the stage actually where him at centre half isn't oh god, right, that's a makeshift thing, I don't know if we'll survive that. We're okay with that now. He's okay with that now. Not, in my opinion, anywhere near a first choice centre half in an ideal world. I think the future clearly is him as a long term left back, and Rangers bringing in a centre half, ideally with a lot of the attributes that you mentioned, David, in terms of that recovery sense and ability that he has, which is important, but also the ability to head a football, which in Scotland is, I'm afraid, ultra important. But it's the same with Lundstrom being able to move. It's not disaster if we have to use these players out of position. Where I think in the past, and this since we've been back in the top flight, for example, we've had maybe too many players when they were moved out of position. It was watching between the gaps in your fingers at times. So we're way past that. But I think the future, as I see it anyways, is he's our left back going forward for sure.
Yeah, I think yesterday in the second half, if we'd had a more experienced centre half on the bench, then as we were going for it, putting him to left back would be a very attractive option, because he does. Borna, terrific delivery, and even yesterday there was some good balls out of the box. I thought Borna yesterday wasn't good, but he knew he was having a difficult time and he didn't give up, which he did. I think it's fair to say the last time he was at Parkhead, so hopefully that was a bit of an exorcism for him.
I think that's
his task.
Absolutely, and I think that's the challenge, I guess, that in the situations where you want to play Bassey and Lundstrom in defence together in a 3, you then lose any ability to carry the ball other than Tav on the right hand side. So if you've got Bassey on the left and Lundstrom in centre back, fine. And if you've got Lundstrom in midfield and Bassey centre back, then fine. But taking both of them out of that kind of attacking sense, if you like, and getting the ball forward kind of stunts us a wee bit, and we maybe seen a wee bit of that on Thursday night.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, and I think that, as I say, yesterday in the last 20 when we were going for it, I would have loved the option to stick him there. And I think if Balogun had been on the bench, then you'd have seen that. But we in that Celtic period when began to play some nice stuff, and it wasn't kick and rush. It wasn't getting up the park in one go. It was Rangers were working the belt. Tav, I thought, was very prominent in it, and the midfield pushed that little bit forward, and Celtic couldn't get out. Again, we've spoken about their physical limitations. I think, again, they were proven yesterday, and I think they began to think, well, we'll try and hold on. They made changes themselves in about an hour. I'll never be convinced that when you need legs, bringing on Tom Rogic is a sensible manoeuvre. But they did it anyway, and Rangers were dominant. And then I think if we were all being honest, and I know that we had this conversation, you in the stadium, me watching on TV on WhatsApp, well, who's getting the goals? Because, of course, no Alfie, no Kemar Roof, and Rangers' other players aren't, in the main, with the exception of the fullback, particularly prolific. Cometh the hour, almost literally, cometh the man, Fashion Sakala. Scott Wright came on. Sakala took over from Joe Aribo, it hasn't worked. I know he was there to do a job, but in terms of actually producing anything in an attacking sense, the 2 times we've seen it, it hasn't worked. Sakala went through the middle, and then all of a sudden, Adam, he was torturing them, and it's that thing about Fashion Sakala. The first half, he looked as though he just was lost. He just could not get anything going whatsoever. Into the second half, he gets a goal, he hits the post, he's a wee bit unlucky with another one, forces a save at the keeper. He was giving them nightmares. And this is who he is. The comparison has been made to Nacho Novo, that, not the most technically gifted player in the world, but at the end of a season, he'll probably have figures that are significantly better than maybe some of the guys who do have more technical ability.
I think that's it. I think we said last week on, don't know whether it was extra or whether it was flagship with you last week, but we said, yeah, he doesn't fit the conventional model of what you want. He doesn't know where to position himself out of position. He can look like he's got 2 left feet at times, or 2 right feet, however you want to call it. But it's undeniable that things happen around him, whether it's just through sheer force of will, or I'm not going to give up, I'm just going to keep going, even though I look like a rabbit caught in the headlights. That's 2 Old Firm goals that he's been responsible for in the last 2 weeks. And it's also been, when you look back through people's timelines, it's quite funny, because up to that point in those games, they're saying, get Sakala off, he's hopeless, this is rubbish. And one of these things, Nacho Novo, Peter Lovenkrands, there is a precedent there in terms of people that pop up with big goals at big times, and he's doing it at a moment that we desperately need it. So I'm very much aware of his limitations, but I'm also very much on board with, let's get players who can do what we need them to do right now, and we can worry about the future in the future. But for me, right now, he's delivering goals that I'm happy with.
Lovely finish for his goal. Martin, reminiscent, a few people have mentioned, I think there's a fair point, of Marco Negri in the 1-1 draw there,
Yeah.
97-98. Lovely low finish, picked his spot, slotted it home. Tried to do it again a bit later and hit the post. I'm maybe being a wee bit too generous here, so, that's not something you're accused of that often. Was it a bad miss? I thought he was a little bit unlucky. Yeah, of course, the catch-all statement, he has to score, and that's true. He's 1-on-1, he should score. We know that, but I don't think it's a hellish attempt. The second one.
It's not a hellish attempt. I think if you'd asked me at the time, where I'm obviously side on, and it looks like he must score and he doesn't, I think my reaction would have been a wee bit more vociferous. Watched it back. He can't go across goal.
No.
Because it's been covered. Now, if he had made better decision making, quicker decision making, more lethal decision making, then he takes that out. But by the time he goes to shoot, he can't go across goal. He has to try basically what he did for the first goal, and he was unlucky. You say it wasn't far away. Obviously, it wasn't a dreadful miss, but he should score. And you can't really get away for that. And there's the other comparison with that Negri. It's almost an absolute identical finish, the goal. But from what I can remember, Negri missed about 3 other sitters and scored the hard one that night. Adam's made the point, in the wash-up, his numbers won't look dreadful at all. And you need players to pop up now and again. You need players to take care of some of the rubbish as well, just to keep things ticking over.
It's sorry to interrupt, but especially in our team right now, where we don't have anyone doing that. Our right back is always the second or third top goal scorer.
I think that's absolutely fair. I do wonder. I'm thinking of that goal. There's others. Certainly that hat trick at Motherwell. If I remember correctly, certainly my understanding, he prefers to come in off the left.
Yeah.
Now that's a difficulty for us because we have someone immovable, undroppable in that position. So he's maybe been asked to do roles that he's not quite as suited to. But that's just tough. We've talked about tactical flexibility on this show already. The Novo comparison's fair. There might be a Miller comparison there as well in terms of if he's not got a lot of time to think about it.
Yep.
He buries it. If he's got too much time, 1-on-1, I'm not sure I'd put much on him. Kent just lays that out and he has to go. He has to hit it. And he's also done the biz. He's like many players this season. A curate's egg. They will present stuff that we'll remember for some time. And still other games where we're absolutely frustrated. That first half, the Aribo thing, you're absolutely right. In theory, if he's an out ball, you're trying to knock balls over the top. You're thinking Tynecastle, where he controls things in an instant. It didn't really work. There was one brilliant ball from Tavernier in the first half where he doesn't have the instinct or the power to just muscle himself into a position to make the most of it. And because that's not his role, he's not a number 9. But what I felt in that first half was that when Rangers, certainly that first 20 minutes, after the Celtic goal, I thought we were back to that very timid, shocked, startled team that we've seen far too often, needing the half-time 15 minutes. But that first 20 minutes, when we were breaking things down and then starting to build up, there wasn't a trust in that front three. Things didn't move quickly because there's that bit of doubt. No one wanted to give Fashion the ball. Certainly didn't want to give Aribo the ball.
And I think what you then saw was Kent began to think they're not going to do anything. I need to do all this myself.
Yeah, which is what he always tries to do and gets himself into bother as a result. For whatever reason, a bit of a chat, bit of a change in the second half, things did move quicker. Suddenly that trust was rebuilt. I don't know, but that was the real frustration that first half, and I think it came from doubt. He said, "Well, we don't have our boy, we don't have our second in command, who was the top goal scorer last season. These aren't our natural outlet, but I guess in the second half you just have to go on with that and trust, and that's kind of what happened."
Yep, and got the reward. And as I say, a wee bit unlucky in the end that we didn't get across the line. But certainly, an away trip to Parkhead scheduled in the middle of these two, shockingly scheduled in the middle of these two matches, uh, to come away and think, okay, well, we played quite well. People are, the confidence levels will be very good for Thursday night. No injuries. That was pretty much what I think we were hoping for, and that's what we got. Now, you two were at the game. I believe that you, due to pre-match instruction from the police, had to be there the night before, before they would let you into the ground. So there were very specific instructions for Rangers fans, but then the somewhat bizarre decision from the police that they wouldn't let Rangers fans leave immediately in the event of a draw. They make decisions based on how the match will be. So if it was a draw or a Rangers win, the fans were to hold back. But given that a draw pretty much did mean Celtic are going to win the league, that they were going to hang about for a bit. It seemed a bizarre decision. And the second bizarre part of it, Martin, was the decision by Celtic to move their one of their sections, the boys, as they're known, to be next to the Rangers support. For those of you who don't know, you may have seen footage of Celtic fans fighting yesterday. That was the boys in the Green Brigade were fighting yesterday. The boys are the ones who attacked Oswald's Bar. They see themselves as a sort of ultra casual type organisation. That is inexplicable in terms of safety. Putting them right next to the Rangers support is surely just asking for trouble.
Yeah, it's certainly the only obvious explanation for it. Surely no mischievous planning afoot there. I'll be honest, a lot of that stuff passes me by. It's just wee boys running about, really. But yeah, they were very energised throughout the game. That's kind of part of it, to be honest. Adam, I don't know about you. I didn't know that was a kind of orchestrated group. As I said, a lot of that just passes over my head. I've read a wee bit about it since. It just felt like a kind of normal visit to Parkhead, really. You're always feeling like you're in the Lions Den, only 800 whatever. But it wasn't until after that final whistle that things changed a wee bit. By the way, don't dare take to Twitter to question the mythology of Parkhead as a ground. I've realised this weekend I've had a lot of oversensitive structural engineers taken to my timeline to take me to task about the fact I couldn't see one goal for the entire match because of a massive pillar. I know the purpose of the pillar. I know that's there to keep the stadium up. But I'm also aware that every other away allocation in Scotland, you can see the whole pitch. It was a shit view. That's really all I was saying. But yeah, it was the usual kind of breakfast nonsense. But safety wasn't at the forefront of the planning after the match, I don't think.
Adam, as Martin mentioned there, whenever you go there, and yeah, they do get very sensitive about a stadium that, after all, rather famously was built with used Meccano and lollipop sticks. That it is a shithole. We know it's a shithole, but there's only 800 Rangers, for less than 800 Rangers fans there. It shouldn't be that difficult to police. And yet again, it just looks like Celtic and the police don't care. You see with Celtic's response to this of, things have happened when we've been away as well. The they really do not bother whatsoever because there's no comeback for them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm the same as Martin. I didn't really know that was a thing in terms of another group or where they sat or anything. I have to say, at the game, it didn't really feel like I was sitting next to or standing in close proximity to an ultras group of any kind. It was only really after the game, but then I would have suggested there was people running from various parts of the stadium to come over and have a go, etc. So I'm not quite sure it's probably a wider issue than that. But yeah, I think you're right, that the kind of lack of reporting of it in the media and then the subsequent statement that has come out, I think shows what they think of it in terms of safety. In terms of getting in and getting out, etc., it's been worse, I have to say, when I've been there. But it was being kept in at that for a draw, I think was a bit strange, and the length of time that we had to wait to come out. But thankfully, there was no major issues actually getting out of the stadium and getting back to cars, etc.
Good. Well, all's well that ends well, I suppose. But even so, it's something that needs rectified in the future, because otherwise we're just going to head back to no away fans. I mean, because it's pretty clear both clubs, I'm not even talking about fans, both clubs pretty much despise each other. So I don't see there being much appetite to expand it, and things like this are only going to make it more likely that there's less fans, not more, at future Old Firm matches. But we have got bigger fish to fry, and on Thursday night, Rangers welcome RB Leipzig for the second leg. RB Leipzig a goal up from the first leg. No away goals, of course, this season in Europe. I can't say I'm that upset by it. I was very upset by it when we played Dortmund and Belgrade. I'm not so upset by it. I wasn't so upset when we played Braga, and I'm not so upset by it tonight. It is what it is. Now, we were all fortunate enough to be there last week. I was going to say I was a lot soberer than you two, but I don't think that's doing it justice, quite frankly. Adam, do you need a wee kind of précis of what happened
No,
on the actual
no,
field? All right, okay, right.
I'm absolutely fine.
Right, have you caught up since you got back? Sat and watched the game. Went, oh, it was 1-0. But yeah, the boys had fun, listeners. I think it's fair to say. But in the stadium after the match, a couple of things struck me talking to Rangers players and officials, speaking to Leipzig players and officials. Is one that the Rangers players have got a very deep confidence that they are going to do it, and I don't know if it's slightly different. It's not bravado, nor is it a complacent confidence. It's just you sense a real belief that they think, not only are we beating them, our name is on this. We are winning this. This is a destiny thing. If we do if we all turn up and do what the manager tells us, we are going to win this tournament. And secondly, from the RBL guys, I was speaking to an RBL official, and I mentioned, I said, big celebrations, and he said, yeah, well, we felt we needed a lead to take to Glasgow, and I said, yeah, but you probably had to put us away tonight, really, to avoid what's going to happen at the stadium. And he said, well, we have played in Dortmund, we have played in Munich. We're used to big atmospheres, and I didn't have that to tell him. Yeah, you lost those games, mate. But I said it's a different atmosphere that in Scotland. In Germany, yes, there's the noise, and you have the ultras, and you have that sort of coordinated European style fan noise. It's very impressive, but as the Rangers players were saying, and as people who've come to Britain to play have said, that it's not as frightening, it's not as intimidating. Whereas with that British thing, where it's all about the game and the fans rise and fall with it, and with the ebb and flow of the match, there's a much more direct, much more visceral reaction at Ibrox. So I think they think they're coming for a certain type of atmosphere that isn't actually going to be. I think they think it'll be loud, and I don't think they quite understand the damn near hysteria that they're going to be playing in. So that's good. The other thing that was coming through was that all the Germans was, yeah, we will need to score. We know that. Like it's not gonna end one goal being enough for us. So those were my impressions leaving the stadium. Yes, they're favourites, of course they are. They have a goal, they should be, but I certainly don't feel this tie is unwinnable, Martin, and I certainly don't feel, even if they were to take the lead, I wouldn't be saying, well, that's us done on Thursday night. I think that, well, quote Giovanni van Bronckhorst, it's Ibrox, special things happen there.
Oh, certainly not impossible. I think Rangers are 5-1 to qualify on Thursday, and I think that's probably about right. Maybe a wee bit long, but
I think that's generous to qualify. I think that's generous.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, there's so many things that are true, and they're not mutually exclusive. Ibrox will. Let's lay this out now. None of us will have experienced Ibrox the way it will be pre-match on Thursday. It will be. We've been at big games. I don't think anything will compare to what's on the line. Fiorentina was a first leg, and it was a Rangers team that were not exactly free-flowing and their approach to European football, especially at home, because away goals were still a thing and a very real thing. Moscow in '93, we're immediately waiting for news. And, that was a special atmosphere. But you're immediately waiting for news, and after 5 minutes, you got the news that you were not wanting. So this is different. It's all in our hands. It's all on the line. You're going back 50 years before this kind of situation arose. So Ibrox will be something special. I think the players need to manage that. I get the feeling that Leipzig are a wee bit more street smart than Braga, who were blown away. They managed to obviously regroup, and really Rangers let them off in the second half, and they managed to hold it together and then take the one chance they got. But that Barisic fingernail didn't touch the ball. They are probably buried in that first half. They did look shell. So I'm not quite convinced that Leipzig will be as green as that. But also, if Rangers do go with the emotion, and Ibrox will be emotional, and try and have this game wrapped up at half-time, the way that they appeared to do against Braga, then theoretically anyway, where Leipzig want us. They have that goal. It changes everything. And the way they played in Italy, devastating pace on the counter. They are more than capable of picking us off. So I think it's going to have to be the head over the heart at times on Thursday, and that's going to be very difficult for this Rangers team because of everything that's coming down on them from the stands. If it's 0-0 at half-time, that's absolutely fine by me. It doesn't all have to be done inside 15 minutes, as much as we all want it to be and as much as we'll be paying for that. It's a fascinating tie for a neutral, which of course none of us are. It really is perfect because Leipzig are very dangerous away from home. I don't think that's the best we saw of them on Thursday because they're not playing in that counter-attacking way. They couldn't. But we're also best at home, clearly, by a long way. So it's all set up for quite some night. I'm not entirely sure I'll be able to take it, to be honest.
Adam, the looks as though we might have Kemar Roof back for it. How big would that be in terms of the focal point, if you like?
Yeah, I think any of those two chances that failed to Arfield and Jack fall to Kemar Roof yesterday and we win the game. So from that sense, yes, it will be very big. It's, as always, it's getting the ball to him in those situations, which we need to do, which we did very well against Braga. So absolutely. If Aaron Ramsey isn't fit, that has a bit of an issue there because they both played very well as that kind of split striker role against Braga. So that might be a bit of an issue. I am not quite as fearful of Leipzig, I have to say, after what I've seen against Union Berlin and after what I've seen on Thursday night. I think they're being sold as something that I don't quite see, personally.
Adam, isn't Atalanta the better comparison for what we're going to see on Thursday than what we saw last Thursday or in another league game?
No, I don't think it is,
No.
because Atalanta
Can't defend.
They can't defend. They're a very strange side. Also, Atalanta's ground, and it's funny actually, the Red Bull official I spoke to mentioned, he said, well, we went to Atlanta one. I went, Atalanta's ground holds 18,500. It's a lovely wee place in Bergamo. It's so nice to visit, and their fans are, they just love where they are at the moment. And as Adam says, Atalanta not only can't defend, they don't. And what it means is they play a little bit like almost Postecoglou Celtic, where it's just all out attack. And what happens to them in Italy is they score a lot of goals. They're involved in 5-3s and 4-2s. And then every sort of fourth or fifth match, they get absolutely royally cuffed. So, I think against Atalanta, if you can, sit in and defend, they get a bit bored and they leave loads of gaps open. It's an impressive victory, don't get me wrong, and Atalanta are a good side, but no, I kind of agree with Adam that they were not quite at the level I expected them to be, because I had genuine worries that it would be we could go there and lose 3-4-0
and we're out
and
of
be
it.
completely out the tie.
Yes,
I think they're a very good side, but I don't think they're better than Dortmund, for example. And I think in terms of pace, I don't think they have as much pace in their side as some of the other sides we've played in Europe. What they do have is a terrific number 9 in Nkunu, who, let's face it, should have been on the score sheet in the first leg. He's the one that worries me. But in terms of being able to get at them, then I think that when Rangers did, and it was rare, but when Rangers did venture out, I think we looked as though we did have possibilities.
It's the theory of it stands up, Martin, in terms of what you're thinking with Atalanta, etc. But similar to, I guess, Bielsa at Leeds, there's just a philosophical refusal to defend that is beneath what Gasperini thinks.
I just don't like it.
It was more the Leipzig thing that they are a better counter-attacking team than they are a team pushing something.
Yeah.
And obviously the onus was on them on Thursday. And I too wasn't overly impressed with how they took to the game. My worry, based on limited, I'm not a huge Bundesliga fan, sit down for that news. But from what I and I completely understand the caveat of just how porous Atalanta are, but they appear, and from what I've heard and read, also they appear to be far better suited to working on the break. Now with a 1-0 lead, that's exactly what they want, no? And that's a different team, a different Leipzig team, an approach and strengths than what we saw on Thursday is just where my fear is coming from. This coming Thursday, we'll see them in a situation for which they are better suited and for which they prefer.
Yeah, and it'll be the same for us as well, I guess. So it's just that balance of risk reward that that we need to get right. From my side, I think, as I said, I think Roof needs to be there. We mentioned earlier on Kent being undroppable, and he absolutely is. His numbers have come on leaps and bounds. That criticism seems to have disappeared. He is undroppable, but he's not immovable, which I think is something that we've spoken about before. He doesn't have to always play on that left-hand side. He is very flexible. He's probably better, to my mind, coming in shooting off his left foot. I can think of more goals that he scored cutting in off the left than off the right, than I can off the left. So that'd be an interesting thing if we do something there. But I think we need Roof, and I think we probably need Ramsey, and both of them at the level they were at for Braga for us to have any chance. Depending what happens with that, I think the outcome of the game, or certainly the outcome for the approach for our team will differ wildly. So I think we'll all be waiting with bated breath for news on them.
Yeah, it's the big nervousness, isn't it, this week? I'll go back to what we discussed in Ibrox, David, just before the Braga second leg about Ramsey and this chat about whether it's best to hold him back. Given, if we do see Aaron Ramsey on Thursday, if he's available, he's not 100%.
No.
I think that's fair.
Yes.
I would be of mind, because I've seen now too many games where he's he clearly scored against Celtic, and he's been involved in Braga, but he was done. The game, because of the frenzy of it and the tension and the pace, was just too much for him. I hope the manager just maybe shows the courage just to hold him back. And then with the game, as you would imagine, probably stretched, then that's when you use someone that has vision, genuine world-class vision, to really make their mark, not when it's 100 miles an hour and everyone's overexcited and he's a spent force by an hour. I get you want to try and build something at the start. All I'm saying is it's possible to plan ahead. And I don't think we're going to, as much as it would be brilliant to have both of them 100% Thursday, I think that kind of chats for the birds. So if they're both available to some extent, I'd be very tempted to keep Ramsey back and use him when the game situation probably suits his level of fitness better than others. I would agree with Roof, if he's walking, he needs to start, because no Kamar, no party on Thursday, to be honest.
Yeah, we need a central striker for the task that's ahead for us. And let's face it, if we use 11, 14, 16 players on Thursday night, they all need to deliver. They all need to be at a level. Because the thing about RBL is that it is a made-up club. And I think you guys will agree with me. You go to the ground, the atmosphere's more like that of a sort of rock concert.
Yeah.
The people are there to be entertained, but they don't live or die by the result. They're there and they celebrate a goal in a very, hey, look, I'm celebrating a goal way. And, speaking to a lot of Germans when I was on the trip, and I know speaking to Bears on the ground, there's two fans of Leipzig's other team sitting in front of me. They hate Red Bull. They're here to cheer for us. And they told us, a lot of people come here, but they'll support Cologne or Schalke or Dortmund. But they come here because they live in Leipzig and it's cheap and, the football's decent, which is fair enough. And there is that sort of mercenary vibe from the players as well. They're all there to go somewhere. They're not. This is not going to be the be all and end all. They're well paid and the facilities are first class, but there isn't quite that driving for a cause thing that you can engender at clubs where you do have the more sort of historic thing. And I think that does become apparent and can be very useful in European nights. What it also means, though, in the negative column, is that they're coldly professional. And they just turn up, do their job, and take their wage and bugger off home. So that is a worry as well. But look, 1-0 down, a match at Ibrox to try to get to a European final. I'd have been handing out hand jobs to the homeless at the start of the season if someone could have guaranteed me that. So no, I'll certainly take that. Right, folks, that will do us for this week's episode. We'll be back on Friday on the free show with Heart and Hand Extra with all the reaction to Thursday night. Dear God, please let it be a happy drunken one. But that time will tell on that one. I'll be back, of course, on the flagship next Monday night. Can I just point you in the direction of our sponsors, footballprizes.co.uk. They run raffles where you buy a ticket and you have an opportunity to win some great Rangers prizes. This week, it's a signed Invincibles shirt from the team that won the title. The full squad signed the shirt in a beautiful presentation case. And for a ticket, I think it's $3.95. Limited tickets. They don't keep just selling, so your odds are at worst 99-1, and that's if they all sell. So you could even have better odds than that, and quite a few Heart and Handers have won prizes. There's also instant win prizes as well. When you buy a ticket, you could win things including a signed framed Ali McCoy's print. So loads of stuff there. Please go and check them out, footballprizes.co.uk. My thanks to our executive producers in London, Mike Lee and Paul Miles, and my thanks to my two guests. First of all, Adam Thornton.
Thanks, David.
And Martin Ramsey.
Thanks, boys. Thanks, listeners. Hope you enjoy a very special week.
Here we go. This is it. Time to get it done. We'll talk to you all soon on the Gels. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.